So welcome back from the Christmas break. Hope you're all settling back into work comfortably and everything's going as you expect it to. Obviously, with everything that's been happening over Christmas, particularly around Brexit, there's a lot of questions being asked at the moment about importing and exporting goods into the UK and the impact that Brexit has had on that. And we thought it was timely to try and get you a little more deeper insight. So as one of our regular interviews with specialists in their area, I'm really pleased to say that we've got Sara Hutchinson with us today from Risa UK, who's going to talk to us a little bit, about importing and exporting goods in and out of the UK. So Sara, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you very much.
Great to have you here. Great to have you here. So look, Sara, let's just start at the beginning. So we've heard a lot in the news lately about the delays that were expected as a result of Brexit at UK ports just not materialising, possibly due to businesses delaying shipments until the chaos settles down. So first of all, what are you experiencing at the moment?
Well, just that. I think the biggest problem at the minute is that UK importers and exporters really aren't sure what they are supposed to be doing and not doing. HM Revenue and Customs put out a poll this week and asking importers and exporters, how prepared are they? And 61% of exporters and 65% of importers actually put down they were not sure what to do. So that's a huge percentage given the point that we've now got to.
Yeah.
And I mean, this week we have been inundated with phone calls from customers trying to work out how they're going to import and export their goods. So I just think that we're not prepared.
So do you expect the situation to get worse or to get better in the foreseeable future?
I think it'll get worse before it gets better. I mean, we've even seen the big road freight groupage operators actually suspend their services this week because of all the paperwork side of it now and the information that's now needed to be able to import and export goods with the EU. That really, I think it's a whole education piece now with customers to actually understand exactly what they've got to put on that paperwork, and also how they should be now trading with their customers and suppliers in the EU and what they need to change about the way that they trade with them.
Yeah, okay. I suppose actually before we go on, it'd be good if you could just summarise what are the big changes that have in shipping that have resulted from the Brexit.
Right. Well, we do have a free trade agreement, which means with the EU, which means for general goods, we no longer, or that there will be no duty payable, but there is still VAT that's applicable. And now every shipment has an export customs clearance and an import customs clearance, which it didn't have before. Before this, Europe was really just an extension of our domestic market. Delivering something to Germany really was no different to delivering something to Birmingham. Anybody could do it, and you just had free access through both ports, basically at Calais and Dover, which is our biggest European crossing by far. It's probably 80% of the traffic is moving through that route. And the way we trade with our customers and suppliers as well, the Incoterms that are used, they set out who's going to pay the transportation costs and also who's going to pay the customs, the duties, the taxes costs, and where that responsibility switches between the seller to the buyer. So the implications now for UK exporters and importers is in Europe, they really, unless they're registered business in that country and are actively trading as a business in that country in Europe, they aren't going to be set up to be able to do those customs clearances, and it's going to be a major problem for them. So those discussions with their suppliers and customers need to be, if they're exporting and they want to take care of the shipping arrangements, the term needs to be DAP, delivered at place, and their customer will be responsible for the customs clearance and any VAT implications in that country. If the UK exporter doesn't want to pay the freight charges, then free carrier, FCA, would be the term to use. That way, the UK exporter needs to get the goods to a nominated warehouse and also take care of the export customs clearance, which will also provide them with the proof of export, which they'll need because it will be zero rated. Most goods will be zero rated for VAT, and that's their proof that they left the country. The reverse is true for imports. So if you want to take care of the shipping arrangements, you buy on free carrier terms, and your supplier will arrange the export clearance in whatever country it's departing from. You don't want to take care of the shipping side of it, you'll buy on DAP, delivered at place. So all you'll be responsible for is the import customs clearance and the VAT here in the UK as it arrives.
Gotcha. Okay. So from a business owner's point of view, how much of this are they, obviously now they're responsible for all of this, but realistically they can't be expected to know all of this. So where would they be finding this information? Who guides them through the process?
Definitely be speaking with your freight forwarder, because I think it would appear that the freight forwarder, the transport companies are going to have to do a lot of the education on this, down to what actually is going to be needed to filled out on the paperwork. To import and export now, you have to have an EORI number, which is an economic operator's registration and identification number. If you just put that into your search engine, you'll find it's like a 10-minute process to go through to register for one if you haven't got one. So speak to your customers, suppliers about your Incoterms. You need to be looking at commodity codes, where in the past you've not had to put anything like this on your paperwork. You need to know what tariff heading it falls under, and also origin rules. You must put down the country of origin, or your supplier must be putting that onto their paperwork, where the goods actually were manufactured, not where they were necessarily supplied from, but where were they manufactured. Importers, the way that you can import goods for the next 6 months has also changed for the majority of goods, but importers will need their own deferment account if they're going to delay the VAT process. I'll go through the 3 stages in a minute, but if they're going to need that, going to do that, they will need a duty deferment account as well. Yeah, there's a lot to think about, but definitely be speaking to your freight forwarder as well.
And of course, I suppose as you mentioned, historically we've been able to go anywhere in Europe and not have to worry about crossing borders. But I could see there are circumstances where goods might have to cross multiple borders to get to their final destination as well. And presumably each country is going to have different border restrictions that we have to adhere to. Is that the case?
Well, for general goods, which is what the majority of this clearance side of it is all around, the EU is still one market. It's only us that's left it. So the actual transiting across those borders, your freight forwarder, the trailer, the lorry operator will provide the paperwork which will enable that vehicle to move through multiple borders to get to where it's going and then back again as well. So your freight forwarder will take care of that.
Okay, gotcha. And then obviously it's a big change the way we deal with the EU, but from the perspective of what you've been doing when you were trading with the rest of the world, when you're shipping goods to the rest of the world, this isn't particularly different to, if you like, the way we operate with the rest of the world at the moment. It's just very different to the way we've historically dealt with Europe.
Yeah, the big change is that we have a free trade agreement with them, so there is no duty payable, where it would be if you were to import from America, for example. You're going to be, if those goods are dutiable, you'll pay duty and you'll pay VAT when they're imported into the country.
Yeah.
The majority of goods, unless they are controlled goods, will be duty free from Europe, but there will be the VAT to pay.
Okay, and this is because actually the other thing we should talk about is country of origin as well. So you mentioned a moment ago that they had to be able to stipulate the country of origin in the documentation. Why is that so important?
It's important because it all hangs around where the goods are actually made. For example, if a UK company was to import some goods from China and they pay the duty when it arrives here in the UK, if they then export it to Europe, they are now going to have to charge duty, or their customer in Europe will now have to pay duty again, where previously we were one market within Europe. So once they came into the European Union, they were in free circulation. But now, unless the goods are made in Europe or have changed to such a degree that they are now classed as a European-made product, there will still be duty payable on the movement of those goods from Europe to the UK and from the UK to Europe.
Okay, and then so fundamentally it's about avoiding paying duty, is why country of origin is so important. So actually not paying duty on the goods twice, is that right?
Well, yeah, but if goods are being moved around that aren't actually manufactured in Europe, then you are going to end up paying duty on them. Yeah, absolutely. So it may well be like, I mean, we import goods for, well, loads of clients, but you know, when you start looking at the origin on them, they might have come from America, but it'll say China, Brazil, Australia, and that all has to be put onto the customs entry, and then it's calculated as to, from where it's actually from, as to the duty, whether it's applicable or not.
Yeah, and then the other side of this must be where a manufacturer is buying in components from various countries. So I suppose the example in my head is the motor industry, where parts are made all over the world. They are then brought into the UK and assembled as a car, and then the car will be shipped off to multiple destinations in Europe. So what counts as the country of origin when you've got effectively something that's assembled in the UK but actually manufactured all over the world?
That's complex, and well, basically it depends how much it's changed and what it's changed into. So every product is going to be different, and this is where importers and exporters will need to speak to their local customs office and get some guidance from them as to whether these goods can now be classed as GB, or whether they are still, for example, US or China, and that will then also have an effect if they're exporting them to Europe, in terms of whether duty is paid or not within Europe on those goods. But yeah, you're going to need to get a customs official that really deals in that side of it to come and have a look specifically at what you're doing, and for them to help you basically decide whether or not they are now GB origin, or whether they remain US, whatever it is, origin.
Yeah, and I suppose actually country of origin is going to be something that a business will identify at the design or start of manufacture. and will then be constant thereafter. So actually, once a business has identified their own country of origin, they're just reusing the same information every time they import or export the goods, aren't they? So it's,
an importer in Europe will have that origin on the original paperwork that they used to bring those goods into that country in Europe. So they should know the origin of their goods.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that they're not aware of just where they have actually been made. It's not where they've been supplied from, it's where they were actually made.
Okay. Cool. All right. Now, you mentioned the 3 steps for VAT a few moments ago. We should probably cover that before we move on, shouldn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. So all goods now require a customs clearance since the 1st of January. So anything that's moving to or from the EU now requires this. So from the 1st of January, all controlled goods, and you will know if you move controlled goods, you know, we're talking explosives, we're talking firearms, that type of thing. So you will know that. And Northern Ireland. Now, for Northern Ireland, you do need an XI number, and also you need to be registered with the Trader Support Service. Northern Ireland is one area that has been in the news this week. They are struggling with supply of fresh produce, particularly in supermarkets. So, you know, the start of this for them has been quite a difficult one this week. So yeah, so Northern Ireland, if you're dealing with that market, you do need to take a look at that before you can do any more exporting over there. Or actually, it's not classed as export, but you know, sending goods over there.
Yeah. Okay.
So from the 1st of April, any animal, plant or food products, you will be required to do a full customs declaration for them. And then as of the 1st of July, all general goods will require a full declaration at the time of import. But at the minute, for the plant, animal and food and general goods, you have from the 1st of January to the 30th of June where you can delay the actual full customs entry. A simple entry is being done as they arrive, and you've got 175 days, 6 months, to delay the payment of your VAT, and that VAT has to be accounted for under the postponed VAT accounting, which again, I mean, your accountant will understand all of that if that's not something that you do yourself. But so you're effectively postponing the payment of the VAT until 175 days from the time at which the goods were imported.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Which I suppose VAT payments are usually delayed in any case, aren't they? So I suppose it's just part of the normal accountancy cycle.
Yeah, you've just got longer. I think the government have recognised with COVID and just everything that everybody's had to deal with over the last, well, pretty much a year now, isn't it? It's just helping people just to be able to defer these payments effectively and just help them with their cash flow a little bit during these times of change, basically.
Yeah, and let's stick with COVID as a subject as well, because obviously we've got Brexit going on. We've got the obviously the impact of COVID worldwide, which is disrupting virtually everything transported, all its modes is being disrupted because of various COVID restrictions. Adding to that, we've also got the approach of the Chinese New Year, which inevitably slows down the movement of goods in the Far East as well. So how we seem to have a sort of perfect storm starting up here as well. So how's that impacting just the movement of goods around the globe?
I have to say, I really do feel sorry for UK businesses at the minute. You know, I really do feel for them because the Brexit thing has just rolled on and on and on. And since the COVID, particularly China has been that market has been really, really impacted, and businesses are now paying rates that I've been in this industry for 35 years, and I have never seen rates being charged like they are at the minute. And we have customers who have goods ready to move, but they are delaying the dispatch, the sailing of those goods. At the minute we're looking at possibly April, delaying them till April, because rates have gone from sort of £2,000 to £12,000 a container, and they just cannot take that sort of increase to their bottom line, basically, for those products. But so COVID's had a real knock-on effect. It's displaced, well, production obviously has stopped around the world, and it started back up again at different times. We found that containers are displaced around the world as well. We've had quite a large amount of empty containers stuck in the UK, partly down to the fact that Felixstowe Port has been the operation there has been quite badly affected by the amount of PPE containers. At one point there was 11,000 being stored at the port, which meant that empty containers couldn't go back to the port to be loaded onto vessels to take back out to the Far East, to keep that cycle going for imports coming back in. So space on vessels has been a real problem as well, to the point that the UK ports just haven't been able to cope with this, and a lot of carriers actually haven't been calling at the UK. They've been going to mainland Europe, to somewhere like, let's say, Bremerhaven, and they've been offloading the UK containers there, and then they've come over on a much smaller, what's termed as a feeder vessel, and come over to the UK that way, because of the disruption as well that it's causing to the sailing schedules. Ocean freight is in a real mess at the minute, and I think it's going to take some months before it really does start to settle down.
And also, I suppose the other thing that's going through my mind, of course, that there must be a point where it becomes economic to start moving goods by other means, and I suppose air is the obvious option then. Is that a viable proposition?
Well, I would say no, but I'm amazed at the amount of air freight that we've handled, and the huge numbers that it's cost in terms of doing that. But we've had customers that have obviously got contracts, and they've had to fly goods in, but it's cost a lot of money. The biggest problem that we have for air freight at the minute is the reduced capacity, because so much freight actually travels on passenger aircraft. But because of the huge restriction in the amount of people travelling, and has been travelling again for pretty much the last year, the flight, the availability of space and flights just isn't there, and air freight rates are particularly high. And then of course you have the run up to Christmas, so the rates go up again with Chinese New Year. Air freights rates out of that area at the minute are particularly high, because if people want to get goods moving, they're going to have to air freight them, because they're just not going to get them out on vessels unless they pay huge amounts of money. So yeah, I mean, air freight normally, I would say anywhere between sort of 50 to 200 kilos, air freight is a viable option for moving your goods around, to be competitively priced. But outside of that, obviously then you are paying a premium for using that particular mode of transport. But at the minute, we are greatly reduced as to our options.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense, I suppose, in a bizarre sort of way, doesn't it? So I mean, fundamentally then, around Brexit and everything that's changed, I think the message I'm taking from the conversation today is very much that there's a lot of new rules and regulations that importers and exporters have to adhere to. Nobody is experienced in dealing with those rules and regulations because they've only come in from the beginning of the month. So there's an awful lot of people that are actually just trying to work out exactly what they have to do, which seems to be where the chaos element is coming from in this area at the moment. So what's your advice then for business owners to, I suppose, minimise the disruption to their business as a result of the new Brexit rules and regulations?
Right, okay. Well, definitely be talking to your freight forwarder, because they'll know what to do and they should be able to help you.
Yeah.
Also, be talking to either your customers or suppliers in Europe, whichever way round it is, because if you need to renegotiate your Incoterms, one presumes they want to do business with you. So by just having those conversations with them, you should be able to work it out that if they're happy to take on the European the customs clearance side over there, and you're doing your bit with the customs clearance here, it's all doable and it's all workable, and hopefully everybody just wants business to continue, and obviously want to continue to sell and buy stuff to do what their business does.
Yeah.
So yeah, your Incoterms, talking with your suppliers and customers, talk to your freight forwarders. You need to look at commodity codes. If you're not familiar with your commodity codes, what your goods are classed as, you really do need to look at that. And country of origin, that is the other real one, which I think is off most people's radar. It's something they've not had to think about before.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, be looking at the actual country of origin of the goods that you're buying and or selling, and making sure that you get that right.
Okay, cool. Excellent. So Sarah, really interesting. So much to talk about today as well. I mean, this is obviously a very complex area and an awful lot of change, and we're waiting for that to bed in. People understand what's going on. Many of the business owners who are watching this are going to want to talk to somebody to get more information. Are they able to contact you?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I've got a team that work with me as well, and we know what we're doing, so absolutely, by all means do contact me. My email, I think my email address and phone number is actually in the post that this is being put up with. But yeah, it's so it's Sara@risauk.com, and the phone number is 01784 252 444.
Great. So thank you for taking the time to talk to us today. Really interesting.
Thank you.
And yeah, it's well, hopefully things get easier for us all going forward. But thanks again.
You're welcome. Thank you. My pleasure.
Yeah. Cool. I made a note.
You tell